They picked my sister's dinner over my birthday like it was weather. Unavoidable, nobody's fault. Mom dropped it in the family chat at 9:12 a.m. Lily got a last-minute reservation at Sorella for Saturday night. Full family attendance, please clinking glasses. My name wasn't in the sentence, but my birthday was in the calendar. Same Saturday. I thought the worst sting would be the message. I was wrong. I stared at the bubbles, marching in. Dad, nice. Lily, finally. My phone buzzed against the kitchen counter, rattling the little robin keychain I keep with my apartment keys. I twirled the bird by its tail. Nervous habit, then typed, "That's my birthday." I even added the softest emoji I could find, like patting for a fall. 3 dots. Then, Mom, we'll do your cake at lunch. Lily, come to dinner too, family first. Dad, let's be reasonable. Let's be reasonable means be quiet, Maya. I deleted 3 replies in a row, each more honest than the last. The lemon cake recipe lay open on my counter, butter softening like it believed me when I'd promised myself a real party this year. I pushed the recipe card aside. The word reasonably kept ringing like a smoke alarm. If they wouldn't make room at their table, I would build a table they couldn't move. I put the phone down and opened the window to let in cold air and a little courage. Across the alley, someone shook a rug. Flour dust of daylight drifted into my tiny kitchen. I thought of Aunt Rosa's voice from a week ago, almost a whisper. There's a little place out in Fern Hollow, an old country house. Needs love. It's not as expensive as you think. At the time I laughed. Country houses were Pinterest boards, not my bank account. But I had been laughing when I did the math after she left. I'd been curious. I'd been tired of standing in doorways that belonged to other people. I'd run a pre-approval calculator at midnight and read about grants I'd never heard of. Just looking, I told myself, the same way I told myself lemon cake was just a snack. The group chat pinged again. Lily, dress code is fun formal woman dancing medium light skin tone sparkles. Mom, Maya, can you bring your camera? Nice pics for Instagram. My birthday had been repurposed into content. I could feel the familiar slope under my feet, the one where I said yes to keep the peace, and the peace kept nothing for me. I picked up the robin, felt its cool metal weight, and said out loud to an empty room, "No more begging." My voice sounded steady enough that I believed it. I scrolled back to Rosa's text and sent one line, "What's the address?" The pin she dropped didn't feel like an address. It felt like a decision. Fern Hollow was 90 minutes away, a green-gray smudge on the map with a river skimmed in silver. The listing photos weren't perfect. Crooked porch, sun-faded siding, a kitchen older than my apartment building. But the windows, big, plain, honest, caught light the way thirsty things drink water. I called the realtor number, and Evan answered with a voice that made everything sound solvable. "Tomorrow at 10, he offered. "Tomorrow," I said, as if I'd been ready for years. My phone lit up with Mom calling. I let it ring once, twice, then answered before courage could curdle. "Sweetie," she started all cotton. "We'll do your cake at lunch. It'll be special. And at dinner you can sit by me." "I already have plans," I said. "For lunch?" "For Saturday." A pause. "Maya, don't be dramatic." "Not dramatic," I said, surprising both of us. Different. She sighed into the receiver. I pictured her rubbing her forehead as if my sentence were a bill. "Your sister waited 2 months for that reservation. You can have next weekend." "My birthday isn't next weekend." I kept my tone even. "And I'm done moving important things around so someone else feels centered." "Family first," she said, the phrase polished by use. I looked at the lemon recipe card, the butter, now perfectly soft. "Exactly," I said, and hung up before my old training could make me apologize. I baked the cake anyway. Not to bring to them, this one was for future me. The kitchen is filled with citrus and sugar. While it cooled, I took screenshots of the chat. Not for a fight, for memory, for the ledger of small things that add up to a big choice. I thought cake would calm me down. Instead, it tasted like a promise I hadn't kept yet. When the timer chimed again, it wasn't the oven. It was an email, pre-approval letter attached. My breath snagged. Evan had sent over a checklist too. Neat little boxes I could check proof of income, bank statements, ID. Tasks instead of feelings. I moved like I'd been waiting my whole life to do this. Print, sign, scan, send. The Robin keychain watched from the counter, like a witness. At midnight, Lily posted a story, a boomerang of the Sorella neon, captioned, "Sometimes life gives you a table, and you take it clinking glasses #family first." I closed the app. I didn't need to argue on a screen. I needed to show up somewhere that would still be there in the morning. I washed the last bowl and set the cooling cake under a glass dome. I texted Rosa, "Thank you." She replied with a single emoji. Simple alive. Before bed, I opened my calendar and slid the mouse to my birthday. I typed a new event over the existing one and stared at the blinking cursor in the title field. My hands didn't shake. I didn't write birthday. I wrote one word, closing. Fern Hollow didn't look like a dream. It looked like a plan. The road narrowed, the trees leaned in, and the old white house sat back from the lane like it had learned patience. Evan waved from the porch with a folder under his arm. He had the calm of a person who likes boxes they can check. Inside, the floors groaned the way old wood does when it's telling you the truth. The kitchen was dated but clean. The sink looked out on a small field with a row of stubborn sunflowers that had refused to die last season. I ran my fingers along the window trim and felt dust and the edge of a possible life. Inspection in 30. Evan said, "He's fast and honest." "Perfect," I said. "Honest beats perfect." I thought the worst part would be what the inspector found. It wasn't. The inspector was a small man with a big flashlight and a tape measure that snapped like a reprimand. He ticked through the list. GFCI outlets needed in the kitchen. Flashing on the back porch roof, water heater creeping toward retirement age. He clicked his tongue at a cracked tile that looked like a smile with a missing tooth. "Solid bones," he said at last. "Seller should credit for outlets and roof. Water heater? Negotiate or plan for it." Evan raised an eyebrow at me. "We ask for credit. We push for timeline." I nodded. Tasks, not feelings. We sat on the porch while he called the seller's agent. The sky had that thin blue look of late afternoon, and I could hear bees somewhere near the sunflowers. Evan listened, then turned the phone so I could hear the tinny voice. "We'll credit $2,800 if she can close by Saturday." Saturday. My birthday. Lily's dinner. I swallowed. "We can close Saturday." Evan covered the mic. Title, "Can squeeze 4:30 p.m. Lender is ready if you are." I looked at the house, the honest windows, the stubborn flowers, the future lemon cakes cooling on that windowsill, and said, "Book it." I didn't pick the date to be dramatic. I picked it to stop apologizing. On the drive back, my phone lit up with the family chat. Outfit planning, carpool logistics, someone's joke about poor service unless you're cute. I scrolled to Mom's name and called before fear could get there first. "Hey," she answered, too bright. "I'm closing on Saturday," I said. "On a house." She didn't speak at first. The car hummed. "A house?" "Yes. I've been saving. I got a credit for repairs. Closing is at 4:30. "What about Lily's dinner?" she said, like the house was an interruption to a television show. "I won't be there. We can do lunch if you want. I'll make cake." She exhaled into the receiver. "Maya, this is spite." "It's a decision," I said. "I'm celebrating my birthday by starting my life. Don't make me the bad guy. Your sister will be devastated." "Mom," I said softly, "I've been devastated and quiet my whole life. I'm just changing the quiet part." I expected anger. What I didn't expect was strategy. Dad called 5 minutes later. He didn't hi, he just landed. "We need to cancel this until the family settles down," he said. "It's not your contract," I replied, keeping my voice even on purpose. "You're being dramatic, Maya." "There it is," I said. "You can call me what you want. I'm still closing." A beat of silence. I pictured him rubbing his temple. "Don't expect help when this blows up," he said, then hung up like a mic drop. The words sat there, heavy as a tool you don't know how to use. I put the phone face down and stared at the road until the lines stopped swimming. I wasn't counting on their help. That was the point. We stopped at a copy shop so I could scan documents. I laid out proof of income, bank statements, and the ID that still had my old haircut. Evan double-checked every page. "You're clean," he said. "Underwriter likes clean." Underwriter can have clean and lemon cake, I said. He grinned. Title confirmed 4:30. They'll text you instructions. The text arrived while I waited for the bus. Title office, Saturday 4:30 p.m. Bring ID, cashier's check, nerves of steel. I laughed out loud and people looked at me like I'd misheard something lovely. I tucked the Robin keychain into my palm. It made a small, brave weight. Back home, I opened my laptop and moved money like I was shuffling a deck. Savings to check. A small grant disbursement hitting Friday. I trimmed my budget like a gardener, not a panicker. 1 concert ticket I'd never use. 2 subscriptions that thought they owned me. The numbers added up if nothing slipped. The first win felt steady, and then the group chat turned a corner. Lily pinged me directly. Heard you're buying a house on my dinner? Why do you have to make everything a statement? I typed and deleted 3 times. Then, it's my birthday. I'm celebrating by closing. That's the statement. She sent a screenshot of her caption drafts. Family first. You're making me look bad. I'm making me look like a person, I wrote. Mom jumped in. 3 dots like sirens. We will do your cake at lunch. Please be gracious. I stared at the buttered dish like it owed me an answer. Lunch works, I said, but I won't go to dinner. I'm signing at 4:30. The chat went cold for a full minute. Then Dad, let's be reasonable. Cancel if needed. I didn't reply. I opened the inspection report instead and highlighted the line about the roof flashing. Practical choices were a language my family couldn't drown out. I baked another lemon cake, this one smaller with extra zest. When it cooled, I cut 1 thin slice and wrapped the rest for Friday. I wasn't hoarding. I was saving the taste of decision. I wrote a short list in my notebook. Cashier's check. ID folder. Keys soon. I drew a small blank square next to each line and left them empty on purpose. Boxes don't check themselves, they wait. At midnight, I set an alarm for 6 a.m. and placed the Robin keychain on top of my folder like a seal. The apartment felt too small for the size of the next 2 days. I let that feeling happen without apologizing to it. In the morning, the title office confirmed my slot, right as Dad left a voicemail that began, Maya, if you do this, don't bother showing up to dinner or after. Friday started with the kind of quiet that pretends to be peaceful. I brewed coffee, set out 2 plates, and sliced the lemon cake for lunch with my parents like we'd agreed, neutral ground, noon, no candles. I told myself it was about courtesy. Really, it was about control, mine. I thought lunch would smooth the week. It only clarified it. They arrived on time, carrying the same faces they wore to graduation and dentist appointments. Mom set her purse on the table, like a referee dropping a whistle. Dad touched the cake dome and said, smells good, as if that were a concession. We made small talk that dripped off the edges of the table. I poured coffee, and, without planning to, I opened the drawer by the oven. The letter sat where I'd left it months ago, inside a plain manila sleeve. The statement from the credit union with my name at the top and a balance that had once meant college and then meant Lily's conservatory program deposit. I had found it while looking for my tax forms, the numbers as clean as a bruise. I put the envelope on the table. Before we cut the cake, I said, I want you to see this. Mom's fingers hovered over the flap. Then she pulled out the statement. Her eyes did that quick match where she looks for mercy in the margins. Dad rubbed his temple. We told you we might need it, Mom said, moving fast to the oldest excuse. You got scholarships. Lily's program was an investment, Dad finished, like he wanted points for teamwork. It was mine, I said. Not loud, not shaking. It was mine, and you didn't tell me. I found out by accident. We didn't want to upset you, Mom said, which was a confession dressed up as kindness. I thought anger would blow the room apart. Instead, the truth made it very clear. They gave me all the practicals. Timing, opportunity, family resources, words you can stack like boxes. It didn't change the picture. I slid the letter back into the envelope and put it away as if I were tucking a child into bed. I'm closing tomorrow at 4:30, I said, with my money. If you come to lunch, you're coming to celebrate with me. If not, I'll still be at the title office. Mom blinked. Why are you making a show of this? I'm not, I said. I'm refusing to disappear. We cut the cake. It tasted bright and stubborn. They left with a Tupperware slice and a silence that felt like a decision I hadn't made for them. When the door closed, my phone buzzed with an email I had been waiting for and dreading. Subject: outstanding conditions. The underwriter needed 2 things ASAP to avoid closing delay, final employment verification, and a letter explaining the Friday grant deposit. The second was fine. Aunt Rosa could write a clean 1-paragraph letter. The first was the problem. My company's HR is one person who treats Friday afternoons like a border she doesn't cross. The email required a phone verification, not just a form. I dialed Bridget at HR, voicemail. I sent a text. Time-sensitive verification. Can you take a lender call? The dots didn't appear. I forwarded the email to Evan. He called within a minute. We can still thread this, he said. Get the gift letter from your aunt. For HR, ask your manager to send a signed letter on letterhead as a bridge, plus your last 2 pay stubs. I'll push the underwriter, but we still need someone in HR to pick up. What if they don't? Then we fight until 4 o'clock tomorrow, he said. And if they won't clear, title can't release keys. I'll try to get a conditional sign, but we need the call. Tasks, not feelings. I texted my manager. She replied in 5 minutes with, "Do you want me to call them too?" I nearly cried from gratitude I didn't have to earn. I sent Aunt Rosa a template for the gift letter and got back a perfect scan with a tiny flourish in her signature like a leaf. Then the rumor arrived. "Lily, Mia sent me your listing under contract. Are you serious about tomorrow? Move it so it doesn't clash." Mia is our cousin who refreshes real estate sites like their weather maps. She'd sent Lily the page where the house wore a red, pending ribbon like a party sash. "Can't move it," I typed. "Title and lender are set." Mom jumped in within seconds. Someone had forwarded my text. "This is attention-seeking, Maya. You waited until Lily's dinner to make an announcement." "I waited until I was sure," I wrote back. "I'm telling you because you're my family. Dad, this is not how reasonable people behave." I closed the chat. They could rehearse their lines without me. If HR didn't pick up, I'd be holding a pen at 4:30 with nothing to sign. At 2:10 p.m., my manager emailed a signed letter on letterhead. At 2:23, Evan forwarded the underwriter's reply. Letter and stubs received. Still require phone verification by HR. He added, "I'll keep calling. You call too." I called HR again. Voicemail. I emailed Bridget with urgent in the subject. I pinged her on the company chat. A minute later, an auto reply hit my inbox. Out of office starting at 2 p.m., returning Monday. My stomach did a slow turn, the kind you get at the top of the Ferris wheel when you realize you're afraid of heights after all. Evan texted, "We can escalate to lender's verification service. They can sometimes verify via public payroll databases, but it's a coin flip. I'm queuing it." "Flip it," I typed. The verification service needed my last 4 digits, my work email, and permission to ping a third-party payroll system I'd seen only in onboard screenshots. I granted everything. While they searched, I stood at my sink and washed a plate I'd already washed, then dried it and put it away as if that were the hinge the day was hanging on. The service came back at 3:05, unable to verify, employer not participating. My breath went tight and thin. I called my manager again. She picked up on the first ring. "I can't reach Bridget," she said, "but I can sign a statement and pick up the phone if they'll accept me." "Underwriter wants HR," I said. "Evan's pushing. We have 50 minutes before the East Coast closes." "I'm West Coast," she said. "Let me try a different HR line I have. Sit tight." I didn't sit. I paced a path in my small kitchen between the robin keychain and the lemon cake like I was wearing a groove into my old life. When the phone finally rang, it wasn't the call I needed. It was the one I knew was coming. Mom again. I let it go to voicemail, then listened because I'm human. "Maya," she said, voice low and full of crisis. "If you insist on this stunt, don't expect us at lunch. You are breaking this family over a house." In the background, I heard Lily say, "Tell her she's choosing strangers." I hung up and pressed my palm flat on the counter until I could feel wood grain. At 3:37, a new email pinged from the lender. Final notice. HR employment verification required by 4 p.m. today for Saturday close. Evan called at the same moment. I can get you in a car to Fern Hollow tomorrow with everything else lined up, he said, voice steadier than mine. If we miss the call, we try a same-day verification workaround at the branch there. It's ugly, but I've seen it. The timer on my stove, still set from baking, hit 3:40 and beeped into the room like a joke that didn't land. I stared at the little robin charm on my keys. Its beak pointed at the door. At 3:44 p.m., HR's auto-reply blinked one more time, returning Monday, and my phone lit up with Aunt Rosa's text. Get your folder. I'm outside. Rosa tapped the horn once. If HR's gone till Monday, Plan B starts now, she said when I slid into the passenger seat with my folder and the cake. We'll overnight in Fern Hollow with my friend Alma. You'll be at the Partner Bank store at 8:55 a.m. Evan texted while I buckled in. Queued your file. Branch Manager Kim will expect you. Underwriter on alert for live VOE. We're shifting from asking to positioning. Micro hook. The road wasn't scenic. It was surgical, cutting me out of old patterns mile by mile. We drove with the windows cracked. The lemon cake smells of a quiet metronome between us. Rosa didn't make speeches. She told me where the gas station had burned down years ago and who planted the sunflowers by the bend. When we reached Alma's place, an in-law over a garage with a bowl of mismatched keys by the door, she hugged me once and pointed to a made bed. Sleep, she said. Tomorrow needs you awake. I slept like someone had taken the worry and set it on a shelf. Morning came velvet blue and then bright. At 8:53, we were parked in front of the bank. Inside, a woman with a tidy bun and steel blue eyes stepped forward. Kim, she said. I spoke with Evan. We'll try to get the underwriter a live verification. She ushered me into a small room that smelled like fresh toner. Phone on speaker, please. Evan picked up on the first ring, then looped in the lender. Underwriter Priya here. A voice said, brisk but not unkind. We have written VOE from the manager and 2 recent pay stubs. We still need HR to confirm employment. HR is out until Monday, Evan said. Branch Manager Kim can witness a live call with the manager. Will you accept that with bank-stamped direct deposit proof? Silence like a boarder. Priya breathed out. If Kim witnesses and we receive a manager's verbal plus stamped deposit, I can escalate to a supervisor for conditional clear. Kim nodded. Let's do it. I called my manager. She answered in the second ring. Put me on with whoever needs me. Kim checked her watch and began a neat script. Name, title, start date, salary range. My manager confirmed, added that I was in good standing, and offered to forward the last performance review while we were on the line. We had the words. Now we needed the stamp. Kim led us to the teller line and asked for a direct deposit history printout with a raised seal. Normally we don't, the teller began. Kim raised one eyebrow in a way that closed the discussion. The stamp thunked down like a gavel. We scanned and sent everything to Evan and Priya. 10:22 a.m. My phone buzzed with a new message from Mom while we waited. We won't make lunch. This drama is too much. A second later, Lily's story, a boomerang of champagne flutes. Tonight we celebrate what matters. Family first. I put the phone face down on my folder and did not explain myself to it. Priya came back at 10:41. Supervisor requests one more item. Explanation letter for the Friday grant deposit must specify source and relation. I have it, I said. From my aunt, original, signed. Scan it, Kim said, already positioning the flatbed. We sent. We waited. A soft rain began, stitching the parking lot in gray. At 11:07, Evan texted, supervisor reviewing. If they clear by noon, you're safe. If not, we try a same-day local condition at title. Tight window. Define tight, I typed. 30 minutes, he replied. Noon wasn't a time, it was a cliff edge. At 11:38, Priya called. One last snag. Your cashier's check must match the down payment to the cent. The online quote you printed is off for $68.12 due to the roof credit. If you bring the wrong amount, title can't disperse. Kim was already moving. Let's issue the exact check now, she said. Name it to the title company. I'll initial the amount change on the HUD when they send it. I signed, hand steady enough to surprise me. The teller counted out the figures like a spell that would only work if said perfectly. By noon, we had a stamped deposit history, a manager VOE, a gift letter, corrected HUD, and a cashier's check that knew its own name. We did not have the words I needed. Clear to close. Evan called at 12:09. Priya's supervisor is in another file. We're next. I've asked title to keep the 4:30 slot. If clearance hits by 3:30, we're fine. If it's later, I'll beg them to keep staff. Keep your phone loud. Rosa squeezed my hand. You did your part, she said. Sometimes the last door opens slow. We drove to the house and walked the perimeter once, quietly. The porch boards felt less like creaking and more like remembering. Alma had packed sandwiches with us. We ate on the steps, watching a hawk circle, like a promise it didn't have to explain. At 1:17, Dad left a voicemail. You've made your choice. Don't come if you're late. Don't come at all. I deleted it before his voice could become part of the weather. At 2:42, Evan again. Supervisor has the file. Priya says 50-50 by 3:15. What happens if not? I typed. Then title can prep docs, but withhold keys until Monday, he wrote. You'd sign, then wait. The word wait felt like a joke someone tells to see if you'll laugh anyway. We arrived at the title office lobby at 3:55 because I couldn't bear one more minute of being somewhere else. The receptionist smiled in a way that said she'd seen all versions of this day. Name. I gave it. She pointed to a couch and a bowl of peppermint candies that looked like tiny Lifebuoys. Kim texted a picture of the stamped deposit page for your folder. I slid it in. The Robin keychain sat on top like a compass. 4:12 p.m. The minute hand clicked louder than the clock. At 4:18, Evan walked in. Damp hair from the rain, eyes steady. Title is ready, he said. We're waiting on one word. He set a pen on the table between us. This is for signatures, not for prayers. My phone vibrated with Lily's new post. Sisters are forever. Some just forget. I closed the app. I wasn't forgetting. I was remembering who I was when I wasn't busy auditioning. At 4:26, Rosa stepped back from the window and gave me a one-shoulder smile. Whatever happens, you did the brave thing. I nodded, tasting lemon in the back of my throat, like sunlight left over. The phone rang at 4:27. Evan answered. This is Evan. He listened, eyes flicking to mine, then to the pen, then back. Priya's voice was tiny but clear even from here. Evan covered the mic, leaned in, and said one word I had to hear twice to believe, decision. Then he uncovered it and waited. Supervisor decision hinges on 4 things, Priya said through the speaker. Witnessed manager verification, stamped direct deposit proof from your bank branch, the corrected closing disclosure, and a cashier's check to the cent. If all 4 line up, I'll grant a conditional clear to close now and finalize when HR returns. Evan nodded like he'd rehearsed that exact sentence. Kim slid the stamped page closer. The pen stopped being symbolic and became useful. I didn't realize how quiet hope sounds until the line went still. Approved, conditional clear, Priya said. Congratulations. The receptionist appeared with a shy smile, as if she'd been rooting for us from behind the peppermint bowl. Paper bloomed. Names, initials, page corners flipped like a deck. Evan tapped lines with a practiced finger, and I signed the way you do when you mean every letter. Kim countersigned the witness bits and snapped a photo for the file. At 4:33 p.m., the closer stood, left, and returned with a small ring that chimed like a bright idea. Keys feel heavier when they're the answer you've carried for years. Rosa hugged me quickly and hard. Happy birthday, she said, no exclamation point needed. We stepped out into a parking lot washed clean by rain. Evan handed me my phone. Post if you want, he said. Or don't. Either way, you did it. I opened the camera. The photo wasn't fancy. My hand, the key, a sliver of sky that didn't need filters. I typed, home is where respect lives. Close today. Then I pressed share and put the phone away before it could become the room again. We drove straight to the house. Evening had the soft gold look of a promise that kept itself. I turned the deadbolt, then turned it back. First in, last out, both were mine now. Rosa set a pot hose on the porch, its vines already curious. Roots, she said. They don't ask permission. She held out a small ceramic bowl from Alma's kitchen. Door bowl, she added, for keys that need to know where they belong. I placed the robin keychain in it. The little bird rested like it had finally found a branch. Inside, the floors didn't creak, they remembered. The kitchen window caught the last light and held it for a beat, as if to see if we were staying. We were. I set the lemon cake on the counter and cut 2 generous slices. Rosa ate her standing, like we were kids who'd snuck into a grown-up party we'd later own. The phone buzzed across the counter, pulling like tide. I let it come to me, not the other way around. The family chat burned hot. Mom, so you did it. Dad, unreasonable. Lily, a story. Sorella's neon, a caption. Sisters are forever. Some just forget. I typed one message in our thread and hit send. Housewarming / birthday here tomorrow at 2. You're invited. No comparisons, no insults. If you come to celebrate. If not, I'll still have cake. Invitations are doors. They swing both ways. Morning broke simple. I brewed coffee and opened the windows. The house took a deep breath with me. Alma arrived first with paper plates. Evan brought a folding table and a crooked candle shaped like a 2 and a 4. At 2:10, Aunt Rosa came with another plant and no speeches. Say something, Alma urged. I don't give toast. I gave one anyway. I printed something last night, I said, holding up a stack of papers. Not to drag anyone. To mark a line. On top was the screenshot. We'll do your cake at lunch. Family first. Let's be reasonable. I read those phrases out loud, then folded the paper once. I'm building a life where reasonable includes me. That's the boundary. The door is open. We clinked paper cups. We laughed because the candle refused to stand straight. We put it sideways and called it design. At 2:41, a car slowed in front of the porch and moved on. At 2:47, it came back. Dad stepped out alone, held a bakery box like a passport, climbed 2 steps and stopped. He didn't look at the camera because there wasn't one. I can't stay, he said, voice small in the big air. He set the box on the railing and pressed something into the pothose soil, a folded card in cheap stationery. Proud of you, he said to the floorboards, then added, almost to himself, sorry I wasn't brave. He left before I could make it easier. I didn't open the card until everyone had gone. The handwriting wobbled. Proud of you. Sorry I wasn't brave. No conditions, no advice. I slid it under the plant tray. Roots like to know what they're growing over. Online, Lily tried one more volley. A caption about abandonment dressed as independence. It landed flat. Mutual friends left hearts under my key photo and a string of you did it's that felt less like sides and more like weather changing. Mom stayed silent. Sometimes silence is where people practice new words. We watched the sun walk across the floor from the kitchen to the living room. When it reached the ceramic bowl by the door, the robin gleamed like it knew we were finished with the audition phase. I washed the plates, turned off the music, and stood in my own quiet that wasn't pretending to be peaceful. On my way to bed, I touched the key, felt the little bird, and left both in their bowl, exactly where they belong. Then I cut one last slice of lemon cake and saved it for tomorrow, because birthdays don't expire when other people are busy.